Patience is not my strong suit. I think if I were to rank the 9 fruit of the Spirit, patience would be absolute last of all of them. It does not come naturally to me. It doesn't even come unnaturally to me. Like if I try really hard, it doesn't come naturally to me. It's just not who I am. I'll give you an example. So recently we went to see Maverick City. I don't know if you've heard of Maverick City. They're one of my favorite worship bands, and they were performing in Philadelphia. And so my family, and I need to tell you the lead up because this is all part of patience versus impatience, right? So we didn't leave at the time that I wanted to leave. So we didn't get there when I wanted to get there. And then there was traffic getting to the parking lot. And then there was a huge line. And so we got in this giant line, like hundreds of people, and just waiting out in the cold. And it's like, we're just kind of like moving. We're kind of moving, but not moving great. And we're like, okay, well, it's fine. We'll wait in line. You kind of expect that. And then this person who works for them comes out. She says, hey, they're opening up another entrance. Okay, it's classic. And I'm like, oh yeah, another entrance. Let's go, because if they're just opening it, we'll be like the first to go. So we lose our place in line, and we can't see it because it's like, she's like, it's around the side. So we go around the side to this promised land, right? And like as soon as we come around the corner, this has not just been opened. There's another 100 people standing in this time, and the other one was like 4 or 5 lines wide. This is like single file. And we get in this line, and 10 minutes later, we have not moved. And I am freaking out inside because it's already 7, and that's when the music starts. And we literally so far have only gone backwards. Like we've been there for 20 minutes, and it's like we've been get in line. We don't really want to get in. So I can't take it anymore. So do you ever do this? Anybody ever do this? You go scout out the rest of the line, see what's really happening? Because here's the thing. We're in this line, and it went around the corner of the building, and then I couldn't see. For all I knew, have you ever waited in a line and then go find out actually nothing's happening? Right? The doors are locked there, and no one knows it. Worse things have happened. So I went around the corner, and lo and behold, there's one person checking them in. One person. This isn't a new entrance. This is like somebody who's purposely messing with my life. And so they're like doing the whole bag check-in and it is taking 10 minutes per person. And I come back around the corner and I'm like, guys, we got to get back on the other line. And Mandy is the complete opposite of me. I would hop lines back and forth all night. Mandy's like, you pick a line and you stay. Like, even if I told them, if I came back in like, honey, the doors are closed. Like, this line leads nowhere. She'd be like, I don't care. Right? We picked this line. So I convinced her to let me go on another scouting mission, and I went and got in the other line. And I said, I'll call you. So I go, because we couldn't see the other line. We were in this no man's land, just standing in a line. We couldn't see anything other than the line. So I go around the back of here's this huge group, and I stand in the line for like 30 seconds, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is moving so much faster. So I make the call, and I can't believe it's the first time I've ever won in our entire marriage. I said, guys, you got to come with me, right? There was this couple behind us in the really slow line, and they stayed. And they heard our whole conversation, so they stayed, but which is what everybody wants, right? Like, do you ever do that? You pick, like, in the grocery store, you pick you in the other line, right? You're like, that guy represents me. And then you race yourself to see who gets through first, right? And then somehow you feel great about yourself if you win and beat yourself, right? So I was like, I know those people. So we beat them so bad. It was amazing. And we got in 10 minutes, 15 minutes before they did. But here's the kicker. The music still hadn't started, right? And it didn't start for like another 20 minutes. And then the opening band was, okay, it was fine. I didn't really love it. But that's like that's not like, oh, that happened once in my life. I could tell you a story from yesterday. I could tell you a story from today. Literally, I did something really stupid. I was not running late. I was running on time. But when I come in with the trailer, I set up the signs outside, the 2 signs you see on the way in. And I've been wrestling with these signs for months, trying to get them to stop blowing away. So now I've bought these huge cinder blocks and bungee cords, right? So I'm like getting the sign out, put the sign out, then I go get the cinder blocks and the bungee cord. I try to grab the bungee cords and a cinder block all at once because I'm in a hurry. And the bungee cords are stuck a little bit. right? And never pull on a bungee cord, right? But I'm like, come on. And I have the thought, don't pull on the bungee cord. And I was like, oh, I'm in a hurry, right? Because I'm impatient. So, not in my face, fortunately. I blocked it with my Spider-Man reflexes, but it definitely hurt. I also cut my finger this morning. It's been a bad day, okay? And it's all because I'm in a hurry. I'm always in a hurry. And it's so hard for me to be impatient. Can I get an amen? Does anybody else ever struggle with that? Yeah, anybody else? Would anybody say, just like honestly, would anybody say, I'm actually super patient? 1. Okay, 3. Good. And those are the people that annoy the crap out of me, right? Like, I love you both, but like, you're in a conversation with a really patient person, you're like, come on. Don't you have anything else to do with your life? I'm telling you, these are not good things about myself. So we're reading about the fruit of the Spirit. And the fruit of the Spirit is love and joy and peace and forbearance, which is supposed to be patience, right? I forgot to change it, depending which version you read. Kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. This is how we want to show up in this world. What kind of person do I want to be in my family, in my workplace, with my friends? What kind of person do I want to show up as? And so I want to ask some questions today. This is the first one. I want you to help me, basically. Why am I so impatient? No, I want you to ask this of yourself. Why are we so impatient? And I want to give you 2 reasons. One is control. And see, patience is really letting go of control. When you let go of being in control of everything, you actually can step into patience. Impatience comes from wanting to control the people driving in front of you. What if you didn't care what they did? Impatience comes from wanting to control the people in your family. What if you didn't care that they took forever to get ready all the time? What if you didn't want to control them? Right? The more we try to control the situations in our life, I can't tell you how often I walk into like restaurants or whatever, like any sort of public establishment, I am instantly critiquing their systems. And I'm like, these systems could be done more efficiently so that people like me wouldn't have to wait, right? You ever like El Diablo on Main Street, and the line is like out the door and down the street. Clearly, they need a different system. Or even at church. Okay, this kind of stuff that drives me crazy. When we set up a table for food and the line is wrapped way out here and it's obviously going too slow, you know what drives me crazy is there's a simple solution. You pull the table out and you have 2 lines go down each side. That's the kind of stuff that I don't understand why no one else can see it besides me. Right? Like the Maverick City lady. What business did she have telling us there was another line? That was a horrible decision on her part. She should have closed that door completely. I want to be in control. Mandy often says that the world would be better if she was in control of everything. And I can't totally argue because we see eye to eye on a lot of things. The other thing that messes with me is hurry. And hurry is really where impatience comes from for me. You know? Can you feel that? Like the more you're in a hurry, the more you're worried about how slow things are going around you. If you weren't in a hurry, like have you ever gotten somewhere early? Some of you do that all the time, I know. Others of you are like, wait, what does early mean? If by early you mean 10 minutes late, yes. Right? But have you ever gotten somewhere early and you have time to kill? Like we don't even know what that means anymore, especially because we have phones. Right? So anytime we like have 30 seconds, we're like, oh, you know, have you ever just like not done anything for a minute? It's weird now. We've lost the ability to be bored in a good way. We've lost the ability to like be still, to wait. And see, what impatience does to me, and maybe you're not like this, but what impatience does to me is it does not bring out the best in me. Is anybody here like, I'm super impatient and I love it because I'm such a good guy when I'm impatient? No, like when I'm impatient, I become like my internal life is horrible. What does it feel like to be impatient on the inside? You like picture, just close your eyes and picture driving behind someone going under the speed limit. Do you feel it? That's the feeling of impatience right there. You know, have you ever honked at someone as they drive by the speed limit sign and pointed at it? It's 45, not 30. You blessed person who Jesus loves, right? You know, Impatience creates this frustration inside of me. It also, talk about how we show up. Impatience with people makes me so mean. I'll just be like really true, really real here. I am mean. I raise my voice when I'm impatient. I'm not like, I'm so glad that for the third time that I've asked you to comb your hair, that you haven't. And that now we're 10 minutes late. I'm so glad. Would you please come along? I'm never like that. And I just tell you, and my kids will tell me, like, you're mean. I'm like, no, you're slow, right? And that's how I say it. But it doesn't bring out the best in me. That's regardless, because there's no excuse, right? If I want to be a follower of Jesus and I want to show up with the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, that's not contingent. The verse doesn't say, have the fruit of the Spirit when everyone does what you want them to do. In fact, I would argue that the fruit of the Spirit, you're truly showing whether you're living in them when the circumstances don't make it easy. See, patience, kind of by definition, you can't tell if you're patient until you're tested. And so when my kids are running late, or when the person's driving too slow, or when the system of the cashier system is totally ridiculous, or when there's clearly a line and 4 of you are standing there talking and none of you's manning your stations, I will be patient with you. Because I don't know what's going on in your life. And also, is it worth it? Like, have you ever really, really, really accomplished anything through the power of impatience? Like anything you're proud of? Like, have your kids felt closer to you afterwards, or your spouse? Have they felt loved by you? Or did anyone change? Like, did the person actually drive faster? No. In fact, they usually, if they realize what's happening, what do? They slow down. Because the Lord's working on you. The Lord's like, He's like, watch this. I'm going to make him go even slower. I'm going to have him stop at a green light. Oh my gosh, okay. Impatience is not good for me. It doesn't make me the person I want to be. David wrote similar things. He said, be still before the Lord and wait patiently. Fret not yourself over the one who prospers in his way or drives slowly, over the man who carries out evil devices. Oh, there he is. Refrain from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not yourself. It tends only to evil. This is what we want to just see, like in all of the fruit. Lack of love, lack of peace, lack of joy, lack of kindness. It leads to us being people we aren't proud of. It leads to us being people we don't want to be. And it leads to us not building bridges of love and understanding and relationship with the people in our lives. In fact, we're destroying and building barriers between us. So how can I become more patient? Wouldn't you like to know? I don't know. So this is the end of the teaching. We're going to sing a song, and I just encourage you, research it. Come back next week with ideas, okay? Now, I think that to be patient, we need to learn to live at God's pace. And that's what I want to talk about for the last couple minutes here. We'll only be as patient as our pace. And so if my pace is frenetic, if I'm addicted to the hurry of American 21st century lifestyle, okay, if I'm addicted to the digital pace of life that we live in right now, then patience is going to be elusive. But if I will consciously, purposefully slow down to God's pace, I will find patience. If I can start to live at God's pace. See, God is not in a hurry. That's why the Bible always says, wait on the Lord, because he's not in a hurry. I want to tell you something. I have so much experience on waiting for someone that I love. Because she is really bad at being on time. And I'm not going to name any names, okay? But there is one really important female person who I've committed my life to in my life. And and here's the thing, she really, really wants to do one more thing. And usually it's for someone else, to her credit, but she really wants to do one more thing. And she knows that in order to be somewhere on time, you have to leave before that time. But she doesn't practice that on a regular basis. I think if there was something like time travel, she would excel at being on time, right? If she could just teleport from one place to the next. But the whole concept of time passing while you drive somewhere, it's lost on Mandy. Oh, sorry, it slipped. right? But I will wait for her. We had a date night this week, and we went to, because anybody go to the marriage event, he forced us to put a date night on our calendar, so we did, and we followed through, went to our favorite spot, and so we, had a reservation at 6:30, and so, I've tried every strategy in the book. I've tried not mentioning the time. I've tried mentioning it gently way ahead of time. I've tried being a little annoyed. And none of them work. Although being a little annoyed works least, I've noticed, because then we're in a fight by the time we get to our date, right? So, but, okay, she made the reservation. I didn't. She made it for 6:30. I didn't. So, I'm ready at 5:45. And it's like, babe, it's like 5:44. She's like, oh, I know. And I'm like, I know all the things you need to do still, and you can't get it done in 15 minutes. And it's 6 o'clock, and it's 6:05, and it's 6:10. What if I left without her? What if I was so addicted to being on time that I just hopped in the car and took off? I would never do that, because I'm going to wait for her. The whole point of the night is to be together, so I'm going to wait for her. And I think that's part of what we need to learn to do, is we need to learn to slow down and wait for the Lord. In fact, John Mark Comer will talk about this ancient saying that we have to slow down so that our soul can catch up to our body. It's a really neat concept that we're living at such a rat race pace that what we really care about in life is like way back here. And we just need to slow down. We need to find God's pace. See, the Bible tells us that God is love, right? God is love. And whoever lives in love lives in God. And that's what we want to do. We want to live our lives connected to the flow of who God is, the way that God does life. Jesus came and showed us the perfect way to do life. So we want to live in love. God is love. And love is what? What's the first descriptor of love? Love is patient. Why? Because you can't hurry love. Isn't that a song? You can't hurry love. You really can't. Anything worth doing, you can't do fast. Imagine if the only relationship I had with Mandy was speed dating, right? We sat down for 30 seconds a day. I really like you. You're really nice. What'd you do today? That's really good. Okay, bye. You can't hurry love. You can't hurry relationship. Your deepest relationships are the ones you've invested the most time in. You can't hurry people who want to share the depths of their heart. See, God is love, and he's inviting us to live in love, but love is patient. And so when we live at such a pace that we can't love, then when we live in impatience, then we can't experience God's love. See, hurry and love are incompatible. John Mark Comer. If you haven't read this book yet, you should. It's called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. It will challenge you. And I want to just say, side note, if you're really busy and you like to be busy, this is not a knock against that. I like to live my life with my plate a little bit too full. That's how I've learned over my life. That's how I like it. I don't like to have not enough to do. I like to have a little bit too much to do, and it forces me to step in and really lean in and do good things in the world. I'm not saying everyone has to be that way, but if you're someone who's like that, this still applies, because you have to know when to press and when to slow down. And usually what you need to do is press during tasks and slow down with people, right? You can't bring your to-do mentality to your relationship with your friend who needs to talk about their life. How many of you have sat down with someone who's hurting and within 30 seconds presented 10 solutions, acting like they've never thought of any of that before? And what they really wanted was a friend who would just actually be there for a while and just listen, right? See, God walks slowly because he's love, and love is patient, and love can't be hurried, so God's pace is slow. God walks slowly is from a book written by a Japanese theologian. But I love that saying. God walks slowly because he's love. Because he is love. He embodies love, and love can't be rushed. His pace is intentional. And he's walking with people. He's walking with you through life. And he's inviting us to join his pace of life. He's inviting us to slow down. You can run and run and run and run, and at the end of your life, you guys all know this, right? But the things that you'll be so proud of won't be all the things you've done or all the checklists you've checked, It'll be the people that you sat with and really got to know. It'll be the time you spent with the Lord in his presence. Have you ever tried to spend time with God and been in a hurry? It doesn't work. Because it's like, God is just like, you sit down to I have this chair that I have my quiet times in when it's winter, and then I'm on the deck when it's, warmer. I sit in this chair, and I get out my Bible, and I'm like, okay, God, let's go. What do you got for me today, God? Go. And God's still in the dining room, right? And he's like, I think for me especially, he probably hasn't even gotten up yet. And so I've started having my times with the Lord. I just don't do anything for a couple minutes. I just sit there and I'm quiet and I'm alone, silence and solitude. And I'm just waiting for God to show up because it's like Mandy, right? I mean, it's the same deal. I want him there. I'm not leaving until I have been with God. How many of us are willing to wait for God in our lives? So we'll only be as patient as our pace. I'm going to give you some practical things. I'm not. I'm going to read a Bible verse to you. Sorry, forgot about this one. James, I like this because it's another great analogy that proves the same point. James tells us to be patient, and he relates it to a farmer. He says, see how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, patiently waiting for the autumn and spring rains. You too, be patient and stand firm. See, patience is like planting seeds. You're never like planting seeds and then pull up a lawn chair. I can't wait till these sprout. What do we got? 20 minutes? You plant seeds and then you water them and it's like weeks before you see anything, or sometimes months before you see anything, and certainly months before you see anything beautiful that you'd like to see. That's the concept of patience. Patience is slowing down, right? So how can we be patient? How can we, as Paul says, clothe ourselves with patience? And I've got 3 things I want to give you, 3 practical things. So the first one is force yourself to get good at waiting. Literally, I've been doing this, and it is starting to work a little bit. But this is crazy. But I want you to think about this. When no one's in front of you and you're driving, drive the speed limit. Not only is it safe, I hate driving the speed limit. I do. I like to drive 5-ish over-ish, right? Safe, but faster. Force yourself to drive the speed limit. Go slow on purpose. Sometimes even don't even listen to anything. Just be quiet and drive slow. Do you remember? I mean, I don't remember, but do you remember? Anybody older than me remember going for drives? That was a thing people did in the generation above me because they literally had nothing to do. So they were like, wow, these cars are so cool. They were invented around the time you were born, right? So, man, I'm really getting through. I got to make fun of my kids, my wife, my dad, and then we'll be done. Okay. Equal opportunity up here. So, but we've just, I want you to just think about that. What would it look like to go for a walk and not have anything to do on the walk? What would it look like for you to get in the longer line on purpose? I do this now. I kid you not. There's a shorter line, a longer line. I don't do it every time because sometimes I'm in a hurry. But I get in a longer line and I hate it, right? And I let myself hate it. It's like therapy. It's like, okay, clearly the person in front of me didn't obey the 12-item limit with their 37 items that I counted. But I'll just be here, right? And I'm not going to let it bother me. And I'm just going to allow the Lord to teach me patience. Because maybe God would have gotten in this line and been like, I like waiting. Because we can talk. We can hang out, God's really a slow walker in my mind. Okay. Let people in front of you. You should all be doing this anyway. But right, let people in front of you and not just the guy that's got one thing, right? I dare you this week to be like the person with the huge bag of groceries, the cart, be like, hey, go ahead, you can go first. No, it's fine. I got nowhere to be. Just try it, even if it's not true, okay? Stay in conversations. This is one of the hardest for me. You're in a conversation with someone. I literally think about, and I don't actually sit down. I mean, sometimes I do. But I think about sitting down in conversations, spiritually, emotionally, with my soul. Because a lot of times, and you could probably raise your hand, and it would be all of you. But how many of you have been in a conversation with me? Don't raise your hand. Mary's already smiling. Where you could tell I was moving on already, right? It's a right? Like, my eyes will move to, now, I'm just going to say, there is a pass for me at the end of church because I'm trying to greet everybody, and especially new people, so that's on one pass. But in life, I'm like this too. I'll be like in a conversation, then I'll be like, oh, well, I could have that conversation. Right? I'm like, I have the attention span of like, what doesn't have an attention span? A squirrel? Okay, so, but I'm learning to sit down in conversations and like, even if you're a slow talker, I love you still, right? And just, how many people struggle with people who talk slower than themselves? Come on, Dad, raise your hand. I know, I can see it, yep, right? But it's beautiful to see someone who processes things differently than you, right? Like what I used to do is when people would talk and pause, then I would talk, right? Like that was my sign that I got to talk more. Because I love to hear myself talk. That's why I have this job. Because you don't have to interrupt me. I get to talk for a half hour. No one gets to talk, right? So if you talk and pause, then I'm like jumping in. But I've learned, might learn, that when you pause, I just breathe. And that's like, I hope they say something. And then often something really good comes out. Because for once in their life, they didn't get interrupted. Are any of you people who get interrupted a lot? Raise your hand if you get interrupted a lot. Yeah. You're probably a pauser. And that's okay. It's actually a good thing. And the rest of us, I believe, are at least borderline sinning against you when we interrupt you. Okay. Force yourself to wait. Second, break habits that create hurry. This is like working on the other side. Instead of learning patience, you can eliminate hurry and you'll automatically feel more patient. So, number two, the first two are things we talk about a lot. Practice Sabbath. Take a day where you don't hurry. So I really work on not hurrying from Friday evening to Saturday evening. I don't work, and I try not to hurry. I try to sleep in. I try to sit on my couch for longer. I try to do nothing sometimes, like sit and just like read a book. Like I'm not great at this, but I'm learning. I do silence and solitude every day. You will learn. Look, if you take 15 minutes or more every day to be just stop, put your phone somewhere else, turn it off, take your watch off, be just somewhere where you can be with God, where you can pray and read your Bible and just be, or maybe don't even do those things, just be. This will start to bleed into other areas of your life. I'm telling you, it's like a space. This sounds so mystical, but it's not. It's like a space you find where like, okay, and then you can take that space with you. And so you can be in line at the grocery store, you can be in a hard conversation, and you can be like, but God is still with me. The same God who was with me in that moment is with me in this moment. Do practical things like leave early. This is my new thing I'm trying to do. I'm really bad at it because what I like to do is get lots of work done. I like to fit everything in and then leave right on time to be right on time, but sometimes that doesn't work. So I'm starting to just 10 minutes. Just make a 10-minute adjustment in your life. Do you normally leave at 6:40 to be somewhere at 7? Leave at 6:30. See how it'll change your life. Driving will feel different. Getting there will feel different, right? Create buffers. Don't schedule meetings back to back. Build in, this is just good advice, by the way. So free one here, right? This is from like Stephen Covey's 7 somethings of really amazing people, right? So 15-minute buffers before and after meetings so that you can decompress, so that you can actually write down the things you wanted to do, so that you can prepare yourself emotionally for the next meeting. You don't need to be back to back to back. This is a big one. Learn to say it with me, ready? No. Yes, you can all do it. It's amazing. You don't have to say yes to everything. Okay, I'm going to press in on one really hard, controversial one. You ready? Parents. You don't have to say yes to everything your kids want to do. Now listen, I'm telling you, I struggled with this. And Mandy and I struggle with this. And we balance, like how many people are in the season of life now where you have 7 soccer practices per day? Okay? Come on, be proud, raise it up. That's right. Yeah, and it's hard to know, is it not the balance between a healthy family and allowing your kids to experience the fun of athletics? I'm a huge athletics guy. We forced all of our kids to play a sport. That's how crazy we are, okay? But like, we also recognize that there were a couple seasons where we were out of balance, where we were so driving to this thing, driving to that thing, driving to this thing, that we weren't even being a family. And so I'm not telling you what to do because it's going to be different for everybody. I'm just asking you to ask the question. Is your schedule, are like you in charge of your schedule or is it in charge of you? If you ever feel that way, then just courageously look at your schedule and say, maybe there's one thing this season we should say no to. It's not going to cost your kid their college scholarship. Can I just speak that prophetically over you? Talk to me more about that later if you want to. I'm not making fun of you because I want to tell you, we did it. We were in that boat, and we made some mistakes, and I would do some things differently. And so it's a real thing where it's hard because society says that you should take your kids to gymnastics and soccer and drama and piano lessons. And if you have more than one kid, it's almost impossible. And yet you need to do it. And so I'm just saying, it's one area that you could learn to say no in. It might really free up some happier space in your life and even in your kids' lives. Number 3, trust God with people. I love how Paul writes this here. He says, be patient, bearing with one another in love. So often our impatience is caused by trying to control other people. I just wish that person would make better choices. Have you ever felt that? I'm just so struggling with that person. Why do they make better choices? If I could control them. And see, what's really hard is that God sees the whole story of someone's life, doesn't he? And we don't. We're just right in this moment right here, whether it's with a friend of ours or a coworker or one of our kids. And it's hard to see that their story isn't over yet. God is not done with them. God, like we talked about up here at the baby dedication, right? God is, they are God's first before they're your whatever, before they're your friend or your spouse or your child or your coworker. No matter how much you love them, no matter how worried you are about them, God loves them more. And can we start to God, I'm going to give you that feeling, right, that I have. I'm just going to try to be patient with people. I'm going to be patient with people who are man, I just know that if they would make these decisions, life would be better. But they're not there yet. And so I'm going to just walk slowly with them, right? I'm just going to walk slowly with them, and I'm going to trust God with this person. And I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to, blow my top and get angry. I'm just going to be in the moment with them and trust God for their story, right? And walk with them. I'm not saying don't speak truth, right? I'm saying all that stuff's good, but we can let go of some of that impatience. I think if we did these things, if we forced ourselves to learn how to wait, if we broke habits that automatically create impatience in our life, if you're habitually late, I know what it feels like on the inside to be that way, and it doesn't feel good. It is not the fruit of the spirit of patience being birthed in your life. It's the fruit of impatience and frustration. And the more impatient you are, more bad things happen, right? Like David said in Psalms 37, right? Every evil intent, all this stuff starts to grow with it, right? Like bungee cords smacking you in the hand, okay? And trust God with people. If we can do those things, we'll start to learn to live at God's pace. And if we can start to walk with God instead of running ahead of him all the time. So that's my question for you today as we close. How could you slow down a little bit? What of those things would work for you? Just pick one. You don't have to do all this. But what is God saying to you right now? Yes, I think I could slow down, right? I could slow down in one of these practical things. I could slow down in one of these practical things. I could slow down with someone in my life that's causing me a lot of stress. What's something that you could pick? Hold on to it right now. Maybe write it down on your phone. Make it a practice for this week that you work on that.